Dr. Shabir, welcome to Let the Quran Speak.
Pleasure to be on.
Our series, Inspiring Verses of the Quran, is very popular, Dr. Shabir. People are asking us to do more verses. So here's another verse from the Quran. So chapter 2, verse 153. It goes like this in English. O believers, seek help in patience and prayer. Allah is truly with those who are patient.
Yeah, it's a very useful verse to remember, and many Muslims know these words, even though many Muslims do not speak Arabic, but they still know these words.
Can you say the words?
Yeah, it's Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu ista'inu bis-sabri was-salah. O you who believe, seek help in patience and with patience and prayer, or just simply the words ista'inu bis-sabri was-salah. Seek help with patience and prayer. So this comes in very handy because we're in so many situations in which we need to utter a prayer. We could be going into an exam. We could be in a difficult situation and we need to call out to God for His help. So we're seeking God's help with prayer. And we always need to have patience because so many things don't go our way. We propose what God disposes, and we will find that things may be topsy-turvy. We need to have patience because things are not going right. It doesn't look like things are getting better. It looks like it's going to be a long haul. But in all of those situations, we have to have patience. And that too is a way of seeking the help of God.
Dr. Shabir, how would you define patience, the word sabr? How would you define it in this verse? Because it's mentioned in many, many verses of the Quran, right?
Yeah. So many verses of the Quran give the idea that we are to be patient with, first of all, God's commands. God commands us to do certain things. We have to patiently endure and keep doing those things. Like, for example, fasting in Ramadan. It's a long haul during the day, but you have to patiently endure and wait for the end, right? Young people have to be patient and wait for marriage to fulfill a certain facet of their existence. We have to be patient in so many different ways. So patience with carrying out the commandments of God, being patient even with prayer itself, because our prayers have fixed timings within ranges, but timed ranges. So we have to be patient in doing all of these things. And we have to be patient with obeying God's prohibitions as well. So God prohibits for us from certain things. We have to refrain. And that requires a lot of patience. So when I mentioned the example of the young people waiting to get married, this is where that example really fits. It's under the prohibitions that we have to wait because God makes certain things forbidden for us. We can't do them. He gives us time and place where sometimes the same thing might become permissible. Then that becomes permissible. So we're patiently waiting for the permissible time and circumstance and so on, according to the commands of God. What He permits, we do. What He prohibits, we refrain from. And refraining from that requires a lot of patience. We have to have patience in the face of derision from others. And in fact, when this verse occurred in the Quran, in the second chapter, as you mentioned, the 153rd verse, some of the verses just prior to that were talking about the change of the Qibla, the direction of prayer, where Muslims once faced towards Jerusalem in their prayer, and now the Quran is giving them a dictate to turn their faces towards Mecca. And as some people say, ma wallahum an qiblatihim allati kanu alayha. What has turned them away from that direction of prayer that they used to observe. So to others, it looks like, willy-nilly, okay, one day they're this way, the other day they're that way. For Muslims, it's no sweat because this is the command of God, we're going to do it. But others may look at any aspect of Islam if they want to poke fun at, and people like to poke fun at other people who are different or do something different. So they will find something to poke fun at. And Muslims need to be patient in the face of such provocation and derision. And so this verse is apt in where it is placed. So seek the help of God in patience and prayer. So we have to be patient in the face of such derision. We have to be patient in the face of calamities. And that hardly needs any explanation.
I feel like this verse is suggesting, when it says seek help through patience, it's not the idea of sitting down and just being patient, but acting, right? Maybe persevering, going forward, despite whatever challenges you might be facing while praying.
Yes, yes. In fact, another form of the verb is tabir, which means really to, continue to strive and do it. A verse of the Quran says that you should observe the prayer, وَاسْتَبِرْ عَلَيْهَا, that, you command your family to do the, وَأْمُرْ أَهْلَكَ بِالصَّلَاةِ وَاسْتَبِرْ عَلَيْهَا. Command your family to pray, and also you yourself be persistent in it. So the idea of persistence, of perseverance, try and try again, that is all included in the Muslim concept of sabr, because related to this is the idea of putting our trust in God. Putting our trust in God does not mean that we sit back, do nothing, and then expect God to spoon feed us. We try our best, do whatever we can, everything that's within our abilities to accomplish the goals that we feel are important to us. But at the same time, we rely on God for His help and support, and for making sure that everything comes out right. Because we can only do so much, but we don't know everything, and we cannot do everything. But God can fill in where we are lacking. But it cannot be that we lack the basic effort, and we just do nothing, just relying on God with what we call patience.
Dr. Shabir, when we look at the Quran and we see the stories of the prophets, we see that they did the exact same thing. So they sought help through patience and prayer, right? It isn't just that God is commanding us to do that, but we see that God is showing us the examples of them doing that very thing within the Quran.
Yeah, we see many prophets exercising such patience. We see, for example, the prophet Job, who is paradigmatic for patience, both in the Bible and in the Quran. We have Jacob, the father of Joseph, who had to be patient because Joseph was missing for so many years. And then his younger son also, Benjamin, whose name is not mentioned in the Quran, but nonetheless his story is told. He is detained in Egypt as well, away from his father. The father had to exercise patience, and according to the Quran, he said, فَصَبْرٌ جَمِيلٌ. He's resigning himself, as he says, to beautiful patience. Beautiful patience. And in the context of the life of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, many of his companions were dying as they tried to defend the nascent Islamic community from the attacks of the enemies. And the Muslims too, with him, had to exercise patience in the face of these heavy losses. And so right after this verse, we have the following one saying, لا تقولوا لمن يقتل في سبيل الله أموات. Do not say about those who have been killed in the way of God that they are dead. بل أحياء ولكن لا تشعرون. They are rather alive, though you do not perceive that. So the verse there in Surah Al-Baqarah, the 153rd verse, telling us to seek the help of God in patience and prayer, is a preface to this next verse that talks about the heavy loss of life in the Muslim community. And even the verse following that says, وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِّنَ الْخَوْفِ وَالْجُوعِ. We will test you with some bit of fear and hunger, وَنَقْصٍ مِّنَ الْأَمْوَالِ وَالْأَنفُسِ وَالثَّمَرَاتِ, and loss in wealth and persons and crops. فَبَشِّرِ الصَّابِرِينَ. فَبَشِّرِ الصَّابِرِينَ. Give glad tidings to those who are patient. And then, Muslims know the following verse, الَّذِينَ إِذَا أَصَابَتْهُمْ مُصِيبَةٌ قَالُوا إِنَّا لِلَّهِ وَإِنَّا إِلَيْهِ رَاجِعُونَ. Those who, when they are struck with any calamity, would say, to God we belong, and to Him we return. So the verse in question that says, seek the help the help of God. I'm inserting of God because that's how Muslims seek help in patience and prayer. This rings true for Muslims. It is forever in our thoughts. And that sort of wording is repeated in our daily prayers, because we said, إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. it is you that we worship and it is your help that we seek. Hence my justification for inserting God in that verse. Because in our prayers to God on a daily basis, when we recite the opening chapter of the Quran, we're saying to God, it is your help that we seek.
Beautiful. Thank you, Dr. Shabir.
You're welcome.
There are people out there who don't interact with Muslims at all in their day-to-day lives. They learn everything they know about Muslims from TV or social media. Our Muslim Media Hub will reach these people and transform their lives. Support us at QuranSpeaks.com.